Hello everyone, I'm Captain Logan, and I wanted to do a quick introduction for the new iteration of the Superhero Rewind podcast. We are starting the show, or I should say I'm starting the show, next Monday night at 8 Central, and it being just after 8 o'clock tonight, on this particular Monday, I thought I'd go ahead and jump on and tell everybody a little bit about how the new version of the show is going to work and what I'm planning on doing. So welcome. Thanks a lot for being here live if you're watching right now, and thanks for watching after the fact. I am indeed going to continue as a live podcast, but I'm going to try to keep up with posting the show on Spotify and other podcast places as well. So you might be listening to this right now, or at least not right now, but later on, if you're listening to this, you might be listening to it on another platform. And if it's your first time here, thanks so much for checking it out and listening to the show. You know, we've got a bit of a sea change happening right now with superhero movies. It's very dicey and interesting and difficult to tell what the future is going to hold for the genre. And I've been doing this for 14 years now, since 2009. Talking about superhero movies in all kinds of different forms. I've been writing reviews. I've written over 200 of the scripted iteration of Superhero Rewind. I've done 25 or 30 unscripted analysis videos. I've done a ton of commentaries with all kinds of co-hosts. I've reviewed new movies as they've come out in spoiler cast form and real quick sign flip. How we felt about videos. So I've done it all with the genre, and I've seen every single major superhero movie that's come out since '09 in the theater, with very, very rare exception. Like during COVID, I think there's a couple I missed in the theater because it was impossible to go there, but saw them certainly when they were on streaming, HBO Max or Disney Plus or whatever it happened to be. And anyway, I've been doing this a long time, and it was kind of a time for a change for me, because I've been doing this in so many different ways. With the scripted show for a long time, I was using stills. It started out, so, there's a visual component, and it started out very short and sweet and overview, and then it became story analysis, and I think the main following that I attracted with that show was for the story analysis, and so I couldn't go back. It was, I changed things, and there was really no going back to the old 10 to 15 minute format. And then it became an audio only kind of glorified podcast, still in scripted form. And all that to say, I have a bunch of reviews in all these different formats, and I would love to have something that is more consistent. And I'd love to have a review or a commentary on every superhero movie ever made eventually, finally, in the same format. And a lot of these are, so it's crazy to start over, I know, with all of the material that I've done, but I'm only sort of starting over, and I'll talk about that in a second. So it was just not going to be feasible to do 45-minute to an hour scripted, polished videos for every single superhero movie ever made. I would have to keep doing it weekly, and even then, chances are I would never get all of it done. And I may not anyway, honestly, but I can get a lot closer in a format like this, where I don't have quite as much prep work to do, and we can, in a somewhat more casual way, watch these together and talk about them every week. And I can go back and revisit a lot of things that I talked about years, and even at this point, dare I say, a decade or more ago, and take a look at it again with a fine-tooth comb, all by myself. And I just really, live with the movie for a minute with you guys. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun going through some of these again that I haven't done in a long time, and going through, obviously, a lot that I've never tackled. And when it's my turn to pick, I'm going to take a look more often at things I've never done any discussion on at all. But The plan right now is you're going to get a superhero movie commentary from me, still live, so you guys will be able to interact with me if you want to pop in during the show. And if you are a Patreon producer at the $10 tier, one of the privileges that you'll get there is you'll be able to not only put in a tweet-linked review, which you can also do at the $5 tier, and we'll still be doing that for the commentaries, but you'll also be able to front-load a question or a topic about the movie, and I'll make sure and handle those as I go along watching the film. So I'm going to choose 2 of the movies every month myself. And by the way, I will still occasionally do a Superhero Rewind unscripted discussion video, but not on that night. Those will be bonus extra videos because I want to get as close to 52 of these a year as humanly possible. We're going to have a master list. Austin is working on that for me right now, and I'll have that up on Letterboxd for you hopefully sometime this week, but certainly by next Monday, and you'll be able to see every movie that counts for this, and you guys can help me, and especially producers, but anybody listening to the podcast and watching on YouTube, feel free to leave a comment or send me a message if there's something you think should be there that counts as a superhero movie that isn't. We're counting everything, and this is how I've always done it. English language, and so American and English language. So if it's an Australian superhero movie, it counts because it's English language. And animated things, direct-to-video things, obscure B-movies will count. Not fan films, although I may occasionally throw one of those in there just because it's fun to do and interesting, and I've done that before. I'm not going to count serials, but I might occasionally do one of those as well. But those would be things I would pick, and they won't quite count. But anyway, so I'm going to get as close to 52 a year as possible. I'm going to choose 2 of them myself a month. One of those will be selected each month, so 12 times a year, by the Rewind Selection Board. And the board is made up of our producers on Patreon again, and I'll put up a poll with 3 or 4 choices, and you guys will get to vote there, and we've done that for a long time. I'm going to keep that going, but it's going to consistently be every month now. And then the final one, not that it'll necessarily be in this order, but the 4th one will be chosen by, if there are takers, a single patron at a $30 Patreon tier, which I've not set up yet, but I will do that soon. So we have a $15 tier on Patreon that lets you pick a movie or a comic or a pilot for a TV show on the request, which Austin and I do on Wednesday nights, and we'll be bringing that back again next week on the Geekvolution YouTube channel. But you can also, or you will be able to, I should say, also be able to pick a movie at the $30 tier for this off of that list. And don't worry, there will be plenty of things to choose from, and what'll be fun is we're starting over, which means if you want me to do yet another commentary on an early X-Men movie, or one of the Spider-Man movies, or something more obscure, if you want to torture me with El Super Beasto, or with, I shouldn't give people ideas, or Son of the Mask, or the Ninja Turtles coming out of their shells tour, you can do that too. And some of these insane, terrible movies are things that I've never done commentaries on at all. Super Buddies, stuff like that, you can also do that. And I'm going to limit that tier to probably just 4 or 5 patrons, but you'll be able to, but you'll have a chance at picking a movie to have a commentary. And if you get on that tier, you'll also get a request on top of it. So quite a bit of bang for your buck there, I think. So consider doing that if you're so inclined. I've had folks ask me for a long time when I'll start taking rewind requests again, and this is the closest to that I'm probably ever going to get. So the plan right now is a superhero movie commentary every single week. Monday nights, doing it at 8 o'clock Central. And at one point, I was very seriously considering doing this with a co-host or occasional revolving co-host. I have finally elected to do it all on my own, to keep the thing consistent and so that I can do it earlier in the evening so that more folks can come in and so that I don't have to stay up so late every night of the week. And I'm hoping that at least my performance will be better doing it that way. I will make it as interesting and fun as humanly possible. Hopefully it won't be too horribly dry, and we're going to focus on story as we always have with Superhero Rewind, but it will certainly be a little bit looser and less structured, less polished than even the unscripted analysis videos have been. And then I'm going to, as often as humanly possible, start doing scripted analysis again. And I can't promise how often that will come up. I'm going to choose them myself. I'm going to do them when I have one I really want to do, and I'm not promising one of those on every superhero movie ever made anymore, because that's impossible. And that's why I'm doing the commentary thing, because that I can do. And then when I've got time, I'm going to somewhat slowly work on very polished, complex, doing it, really doing it right. Reviews in the old scripted form with the 0 to 4 point scale and probably a lot of food metaphors and everything you came to expect from that show. So Superhero Rewind in its original form will be back, and I can't promise how often, but I'm definitely going to be doing that. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to announce it, but I think people are going to appreciate what I'm doing with this a lot more if they know that it is in the cards to occasionally get, even if it's only 3 or 4 times a year, but I'm going to try to do better than that, more old school superhero rewinds. If I can manage it, if YouTube will cooperate with me, I will bring back the visual component for those as well, but I'll also have them on the podcast feed, regardless of whether there is a visual component. So that is the plan right now. I have been on hiatus from the channel and from Superhero Rewind for the last couple weeks. I've been writing the Superhero Rewind movie. Ooh. And all I'll tell you about that right now is, and I'm hesitating because I'm like, what have I said about this so far? I don't know if I'm revealing anything new when I say this, but it is going to be a kind of double entendre or more sort of title, and it's going to be a movie that is both about superhero movies and a superhero movie in and of itself. And it has a time travel component, and it will be it will have parody components, lampooning a couple of superhero movies especially, but lots of them in various ways. And there will be fun cameos and folks that if you've been watching us a long time will probably hope to see, and it will to some degree be a bit of a sequel to Spawn Year, although you won't have to have seen Spawn Year, I don't think, to enjoy it and appreciate it. I don't know if I'm quite halfway through the first draft, but I've been working on that pretty hard the last couple of weeks. Not quite where I want to be with that yet, which is why I'm also more or less taking this week off, but at least from the regular schedule. Of course, I'm doing this right now, and then tomorrow night I'm going to do a Captain Logan show because there's been a lot of pop culture and superhero movie news, and I want to catch up on that. But anyway, I wanted to pop in and say hi to everybody and let you know that I'm not dead, and do a real quick introduction to the Superhero Rewind commentary project. I'm stoked about it. I think it's going to be a ton of fun, and I'm really looking forward to going back to some movies that we haven't talked about in a long time, but also tackling some stuff that I've never discussed or ever seen. We have a lot of sequels to kind of late 80s, early 90s superhero movies and kind of proto-superhero things like Darkman 2 and like the Crow sequels that I haven't tackled yet. I'm caught up on RoboCop finally. I did RoboCop 3 not too long ago. But anyway, let me see what folks are saying in the comments real quick. And by the way, if you don't watch these live, let me do my level best to assure you that these should still be pretty listenable after the fact. When I do interact with commenters, I'll make sure and read the comments so that you know what the question of the topic was, and there won't be, it won't just be back and forth. It will be a lot of just me and the movie, and then occasionally I'll interject with a question. And I'll do a lot more via Super Chat if there are Super Chats than just regular comments. And I'll try to tackle some of those too like I always do. But just so that folks know, it's not going to be just constant back and forth with a lot of lag and downtime, because I'm sure for most of these things, I'm going to have plenty to say and respond to with each scene. Obviously, we're going in sequence, so it's going to be very different from even the unscripted Superhero Rewind. Of course, I've done commentaries forever, but I've never done these solo. I used to do this with Crypto Freaks, which worked out pretty well when I was doing those. I'm doing that in a totally different format now. But anyway, let's see what folks are saying here. Brightburns1985 $2 Super Chat says, I won't kill you, but I don't have to save you. That is a Batman Begins quote. I'm not sure why he said that when he said that, but that's amusing. And let's see, Jar Jar Ed. Hey, Cap, it's been a while since I was here. That's true. Hi, Jar Jar Ed. It's good to see you, man. Jar Jar Ed, yeah, that's a good question. What anime does count for Superhero Rewind? If it was originally, pardon me, if it was originally a Japanese production in the Japanese language, it won't officially count. But that, and also how many straight up anime superhero movies are there? Like, there's a lot more series than movies. I'm sure there are some, and when you get into like Dragon Ball Z and things like that, certainly. But one of the reasons that I've never counted that for Rewind is just because there's so much of it with series like that, with things like Dragon Ball Z, and I'm not already a fan of those things, so I would have to, like, I don't have anything to bring to the table, really, with that, and I would have to really sink my teeth into that and get massively into that, and I'm kind of just sticking to the tradition of what I've always done here. So that's not to say that I wouldn't occasionally sneak one in if I found it interesting and I was curious. I'm going to stick more or less to the list, but I might occasionally deviate from it if there's something I just really, really want to talk about, or I might just make those bonus episodes if I can work them in. One thing I am considering doing, I haven't decided on this for sure, is when I do shorter animated movies like DC direct-to-video features and things like that, I might make those double features if I have enough time to, watch both movies and do a little bit of research on them, because they're short and we would get to about the length of a regular live action or theatrical feature. And that would let us knock out a lot more movies, especially because there's not as much interest most of the time in those direct-to-video things. And so if I can pair them together, there might be, more of a crowd for some of those, is kind of what I'm thinking. Chewbacca's Lover, $2 Super Chat. What will the Rewind movie be rated, PG or PG-13? I don't have an answer for that yet, but I will say that the draft I'm writing right now would not, I don't know if I should even reveal this. The draft as I'm writing it right now, I would not get even a PG-13 rating. It would have to be rated R. And that's just for language and stuff. But I'm thinking at the moment that I'll probably do a couple of different versions of it in the script and decide just where I'm going to go with it. It's writing a little bit darker than I was expecting it to. I will say that, but I don't know yet. I don't know what I'm doing with it yet. It's just a first draft. So anyway, but it will be PG-13 before it's PG. I will say that. Lucas Green, do you prefer doing scripted or unscripted superhero rewinds? That's complicated. It really just depends on how much time I've gotten my day, right? Like, when there was, or at least I felt like, this is just kind of a self-perception thing, when I felt like there was a lot of pressure to get them out often, it was very difficult to do them scripted because it's just a lengthy job. like I said, I just got to where it couldn't be done weekly, and it got kind of difficult to do even monthly. If I was all alone in a house and this is all I was doing, and I didn't have kids, and I didn't have a lot of other responsibilities, scripted would absolutely be my preference. I, for in full disclosure, for a couple of years, I got really burnt out on that kind of writing. Maybe even, if I'm being honest with myself, maybe even longer than a couple of years. And one of the reasons that I would take several weeks or even sometimes several months off in between them was just because I was burnt out and I couldn't get excited about writing them, and I didn't want them to look phoned in. I still wanted them to be good. I wanted to be, as interesting and insightful and engaging as possible, and my heart wasn't in it. And I don't mind admitting that can sometimes happen. I've been doing this for a long time. And then switching to a different format, I got very excited about trying to get better at going off the cuff and being able to utilize all the notes I was taking. I would have all these really cool things that I wanted to talk about that I just couldn't work into, even sometimes a 7 or 10,000 word script. And I was like, these things are getting absurdly long. Everything can't be BVS in 5 hours. And so I thought, why not try this unscripted, and it would be easier to make them more often. And indeed it was. For the last year and a half, like I said, I think if you count the non-superhero movies, because I did several of those too, I did at least 25 or 30 of them, and I couldn't begin to match even half that pace for scripted. So I'm really proud of what I managed to get done with that. And I don't mean to be wishy-washy and jump around so much. It's just that now we've got all these different formats with Rewind, and maybe doing it unscripted, I eventually could have gotten to every single one of them, but it's not uniform. This is going to look a lot nicer in a playlist and on YouTube, and YouTube's got its new, some of this is battle strategy, certainly. Some of this is hoping to maybe grow a little bit again and draw something of a new audience. We'll see if that happens. And I thought, especially now was the time with YouTube adding the podcast section. I'm not exactly starting the whole show over. I'm going to have the same podcast feed I've always had, or at least I have for quite a while now, and I'll be posting there. So the whole library of old rewinds will be there in audio format, but then this will be there on top of it. And then when I do scripted analysis again, those will show up there as well. So it will be basically a couple of different shows with the Superhero Rewind moniker all popping up. And one of the reasons I wanted to do this too is people have asked me for a long time now to post commentaries in the podcast feed, and I just wasn't comfortable posting a lot of the older ones with co-hosts that I haven't worked with in a really long time, and again, it just wouldn't be very uniform. I thought it would be cooler just being a rewind. Like, I felt like that would need to be in a different feed, I guess is what I'm saying. And so I thought, well, if it's a new show and if it's just me, it would make a lot of sense to put it in the same feed. And so Superhero Rewind becomes both commentaries and hopefully occasionally scripted analysis. And the other nice thing about this is if this whole thing breaks down and doesn't work, I can just go back to occasional videos. Bob Hunt, $2 super chat. R-rated. You just gave away your nude scene. That's you talking. That's not me talking about. Clinton Tilbury, what is your movie about? I don't want to say any more than I've said so far. It is going to be me playing a fictional version of myself, and it is going to have a lot to do with the history of superhero movies, and with honestly some of the things that I just talked about. Just doing this for a long time, and burnout, and some of that stuff will inform it thematically. Cap, pick something to be proud of that is your life's work and stick with it to completion. And if you want to do anything after that, it's great, but you will feel some sense of accomplishment on what you did. I didn't say who is writing this, by the way, because it's in Japanese kanji and I can't read it. But I think this is a viewer that's been commenting a lot lately, which I really appreciate. Sorry that I can't credit you. I can't read the kanji. And don't edit yourself. The wider the audience, the more lasting the impact. I really appreciate that advice. Yeah. I am having my cake and eating it too a little bit with this. I am not thinking about this as a way to settle. I really want to do both. I really want to try this commentary thing as a way to talk about every superhero movie I can get away with talking about, because that was always the goal with Superhero Rewind. And in the early days, it made some kind of sense, partly because there weren't anything like as many, and it didn't look like we would get to the 8, 10, 12 a year that we've gotten to, and that it would become so much of Hollywood's take. But also because it also, it made more sense because it was shorter. And then, like I said, I just got to kind of a length problem with it, and I wanted to be able to get real in depth. And some of that is just because I've been doing this for so long, I have a lot to say. Like, I know these things very well, and the tropes and the history and the kind of the patterns in theme and characterization and ideas and stuff, and I see interesting connections and patterns everywhere, and so I have a lot of things that I want to say about this stuff. And so if I only do the scripted analysis, even if I didn't do this commentary project, I just know that with my lifestyle now, with all my kids, and with responsibilities and taking care of the house, I am a stay-at-home dad. I do homeschool my children. I've got a full-time job on top of this other job, and I just know that even if I wasn't doing the commentary thing, I would probably only have so many in me a year, and that's assuming I didn't get burnt out on it. And so I still want to do them, but I want to do the ones I want to do, and I want to not have pressure to get them out at a certain time, but I don't mind having deadlines for commentaries. And the Manias did very well for us, and those were a lot of fun to make. And so I missed doing that weekly, and I miss getting something about superhero movies out every week. And even the unscripted analysis, it became difficult to do that as regularly as I wanted to, because I was having to, and I don't mean to make excuses, it's just the way it is with, again, my lifestyle. I was having to stay up very, very late on Sunday and still work into the afternoon on Monday while I'm also trying to homeschool and all of that. And this, I think, will be manageable in a way that wasn't even on a weekly basis. Bob the Hun, $2 super chat. I wasn't going to talk about this here, but since it was asked in a super chat, I will mention it real quick. So if you're listening to this, again, in podcast form and you don't know what he's talking about, this is a series on the YouTube channel, but Bob the Hun, $2 super chat is not Spawn, you're canceled. Not officially, it's just been... That was kind of a ridiculous thing to attempt, but I wanted to see if I could do it, and I really want to make more of them, but I haven't been able to prioritize it on top of other stuff because it's much more niche and there's not as much interest in it as other things on the channel like this thing. But Not Spawn Year is a thing I was doing where I was trying to do a comic review every single day this year, and I did 79 of them in a row, and then especially in getting into, which I had planned, by the way, on taking off time this month, this whole year to do this, but to write the script for the Superhero Rewind movie, and I was hoping to keep doing that through this, and that was just, that became impossible with some other things I had going on in my life. So anyway, I do want to catch up on that. I cannot promise it, and I don't know if I'll get a whole year's worth of those done. I don't know if I'll catch up, but that doesn't mean I won't try to make some more at least this year. But that's all I can say. There are a few people that are begging me to bring that back, and I really appreciate you guys who were enjoying that show. It may just turn into occasional singular issue comic reviews, but so I can't promise anything one way or another. And I said from the beginning I didn't know if it was possible. I didn't know if I would manage it. So folks that are saying, "Well, Cap, you never finish anything," I get that, and I hate that I've to some degree that I've garnered that reputation. But it was the thing I wanted to try. And if I just put up comic reviews every day and didn't explain what I was doing, it would be kind of weird. So I had to say, and also I was doing it partly too as an anniversary thing for Spawn Year because it's the 10th anniversary. So I went, the idea is to try to do one every day. I don't know if I'll manage it. I did 79 in a row. I felt pretty good about that. John Ty, $5 super chat. Thoughts on the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Once a Ranger Netflix movie trailer? Again, I don't want to talk about that right now. Tomorrow night we're doing a Captain Logan show, and I'll discuss. I can discuss that a little bit more there, but that comes out. What is it, Wednesday? And Jason and I are going to review it probably Thursday night. I will just say, it looks both fun and not great to me. Too many sensibilities of the current Hasbro stuff, I think, and it's a little bit with the clips they've put out so far. It's a little bit overly referencey, which I certainly expect some of that, but the writing already seems even. I don't know. It's hard to decide what to compare it to, right? Or what standards to hold it to, because it's Power Rangers, so it's easy to go, it's Power Rangers, so like you really lower your standards, but I still don't like how contrived some of the dialogue is sounding just to get references in it. I know it's only 45 minutes long, and so it seems like a lot of it is just going to be really crammed in with as much fan service as humanly possible. And it being Power Rangers, you already expect some fan service. I don't know that they have to work so hard at it where it's like, you got to make sure and get every major piece of iconography in there. Here's the juice bar. Really? It's still decorated like that? Okay. And anyway, but I'll be reviewing that Thursday. Like I said, I have no idea what standards to hold that to. Hopefully I have a good time with it. It'll be fun to see those actors come back again. Danaverse, will you finish Spawn Year the first? You did finish Spawn Year? Yeah, no, I did. But it was 10 years ago, and so I understand folks that that feel that way about it. Did I say at the beginning that the first commentary is going to be Batman 89? I'm using this as an excuse to do yet another Batman 89 commentary. It'll be, I think, the 13th that I've done, and I'm going to try to focus more on story than I ever have with that. So that'll be fun. I thought it would make sense to start with something I just knew really, really super well, and I've never done a revisit on Batman 89 for Superhero Rewind. So, and I've never done a commentary all by myself for that. So that'll be the first one. Like I said, next Monday night. Lucas Green, a certain Superhero Rewind I'm expecting you to do at some point is Arkham Knight, but I don't expect you to do one for Origins, or is that not the case? I was actually thinking about that the other day. If I'm able to write some scripted analysis again, Knight is one I actually sort of want to do just to round out that trilogy, and because I'm giving kind of glowing praise to the first two with those wonderful Paul Dini scripts, and that third one will be a very different review if I get to that. Code Geass Anime Fan, I think that Cap should give Batman 89 4 stars. So let me say that I am going to go with a different, or at least the plan right now is I'm going to go with a different rating system for the commentaries. I am going to still do the ratings with those, but since I'm still going to do some scripted analysis, I thought it would be weird if I did, a 0 to 4 rating in a commentary, and then I did it again in a scripted analysis. So with the 0 to 4 scale, you've also got in the middle point values you can do, and I think with this I'm going to go for a simpler kind of 5-point scale where there isn't anything in the middle. So you'd have so like a 1 would be at the very bottom, and a 5 would be at the top, and then a 3 would be just very middle of the road, it's fine. And then I am still talking about doing the kind of cutesy thing where a 3 is a hero, and a 4 is a superhero, and a 5 is a legend, and then a 2 is a villain, and a 1 is a nemesis. And then I would rank them based on that. And I am going to start the rankings over, or the ranked list over in Letterboxd. And I'm not going to rank them anymore when I do scripted analysis. I'm just going to do that for the commentaries. But that's my plan right now. Folks, I am going to go ahead and get going. Thanks for all the interaction. My camera has frozen up on me, and there we go. I wasn't sure what happened there. Anyway, but I have got to go upstairs and take care of my kids. So thanks everybody so much for being here. I hope that you enjoyed it and that you got a good sense of what I'm doing. If you want to become a Patreon producer for the Superhero Rewind podcast, both the commentaries and the scripted analysis, you can go to patreon.com/geekvolution, and the $10 tier makes that possible. At the $5 tier, you can also, just like at the $10 tier, put in tweet-linked reviews, and then the $10 tier lets you help me pick shows, and it allows you to become part of the Discord and hang out with me once a month, thereabouts. Sometimes watching superhero movies and sometimes just talking about them. And at the end of every show, I will be reading and thanking all of the Patreon producers, and since this is an introduction for the show, I'm going to do that right now. So I want to say thanks a ton to all of our patrons, but especially Bill Mills and Chewbacca's Lover, David Crabtree, Elliot Slater, Gooster123, Hayden Spring, Jeff Niederhofer, Joe Turner, Joe Gira, Jonathan Campbell, Joshua Gilisano, Matt Bat68, Michael Martin, SS Jerry, Super Billy, Thomas Edgeshill, Adam March, Checkers the Inventor, Damon Begay, Hot Soup, Jacob Schneider, Justin Hayes, Kareem Roberts, Matthew Brody, Michael Austin, Gulick, Miguel Rodriguez, The Day Ghost. And thanks a bunch, by the way, to Austin for all of his help with this. Unknown Passenger, and Wendell Jones, and Zach. You guys are great. Really appreciate everybody. I'm going to be back again tomorrow night on the Geekvolution YouTube channel for a brand new episode of The Captain Logan Show. And then I'm going to be working diligently all week on the Superhero Rewind movie. And then Monday night, we start the weekly commentaries. We're going to do it every week. Whatever happens, however prepared I am, I'm going to try to do some prep, but I'm going to be here every time with knocking those off the list. Thanks for being here, guys. I will see you again next time. Bye, folks.